recognize Rep. Propst.
Thank you. Mr. Tyson, you're the part owner of Lovebirds?
45% part owner.
45%. What is Lovebirds?
It's a bar and restaurant.
It's a bar and restaurant.
Mm.
When did you open?
Steno open Congressman ginigig kan?
I already answered that, Congressman, this morning.
Could I
May I direct
apologize.
the witness to answer, please?
Could you answer the question, sir? Is it a difficult question for you to answer?
Ay,
When
no,
did you-
uri
okay, thank you,
pipiti
sir.
aso, no,
Could
ako
you
na
answer
tayo,
the
okay?
question?
Keep
Thank you,
repeating
sir.
myself.
Could you answer the question?
February 2021.
February 2021, you opened Lovebirds. How many employees work at Lovebirds?
3.
3.
3 employees for Lovebirds. This is a restaurant and it's a bar, and you've been open since February 20.
And I know.
Are you interrupting me?
Yeah, no,
Okay, so I'm sorry. Once again, it's a restaurant, and it's been open since February 2021. You're a
Sino ba yung
half
clarify
owner
ano?
near.
He wants to clarify. Can I clarify?
Okay.
Go ahead and clarify.
I-restaurant no iba non adding i-restaurant services.
Restaurant, we just added the restaurant services.
Anay kompanya ma-awarded ni Boost.
When the company was awarded Boost.
And how much boost were you awarded?
I-record está reflect 225,000.
Record already reflect that it was given
$225,000 for a business that just opened up February of 2021. Okay. And you have 3 employees. You got $225,000. Okay. Now, what if I were to say that the Hut employed more people and paid more in taxes and only applied for $55,000 and only received $10,000? Why wouldn't the Hut get $55,000 if they have more employees and they've been open longer? Why is Lovebirds more deserving? Your company, sir. How is it possible that this company, this restaurant, was more important than several other restaurants that received not 1 penny, that were in operation well before your establishment was open in 2021? How is that fair?
No comment,
Thank you. Also, you expect these chairs, these councils, myself, my colleagues, everyone else who has been watching this, whatever you want to call it, to believe that your business associate somehow, some way, by coincidence, received 10% of the total amount of the Boost program that was awarded originally. 10% meaning $1 million. That somehow one person who happens to be your business associate and business partner miraculously received 10% of the entire amount that was originally awarded for the Boost program. Sir, you mean to tell all of us that this is just sheer coincidence?
Ito recusal so establish on a recusal. Now,
I recuse
to
myself,
answer
and
question
I've already established that I recuse
to
myself.
the best of my knowledge, to the best of my recollections, and está established todo mo.
I've established all of that.
You recused yourself. Okay, you've told us that. You've recused yourself. But there's no proof of that, sir. And that is the most troubling thing when I say that, because you have 0 records, which, by the way, is required by law. You must make that statement. It must be written in the minutes. That is a Commonwealth law. Yet you guys did not take any minutes whatsoever. There's been no records of anything turned into this committee because they do not simply exist. Now, sir, you can talk over and you can claim that we are badgering you or whatever, sir. But so far, in your testimony, in everything that you have given, you have shown that there is no true rubric. There are no defined plans. Your decisions for giving the amounts and who received were strictly and purely subjective based on how you guys felt at that time. You have clearly established the fact that you only gave 10 to 15 minutes per proposal, if that, and that you guys took your own piles and went through them. I've said to you, I've reviewed several that were turned into me. It could not take me just 10 minutes or 15 minutes to read a thorough business plan that somebody spent weeks on end working on, because there are a lot of figures to deal with and projections and other things, sir, which obviously was bypassed by you and your fellow panelists. That is disturbing. There is no fairness in what we have seen. What we have seen is a mockery of it, sir. And that's why it's like, why am I even going to ask you questions when your questions have been consistently that there is a consensus, some sort of general consensus, collective consensus that just does not exist. We've seen so many of these businesses that also skip the line, but just coincidentally, they happen to be related or affiliated somehow, some way with one of the panelists. And then when you say, well, we recuse ourselves sometimes, there is no record to this. This is why this is a serious problem. We have $17 million, sir, that was used for Boost. And the very first problem that you guys had was that you never consulted with the legal counsel. If you had, they would have told you, perhaps we shouldn't do this. Perhaps they would have given you some fair warning, some good advice. And if you had consulted with an attorney, that attorney needs to be fired for giving you bad advice. Because the first thing they should have told you was the very mere fact that we have an office and grants management state clearinghouse that was never, ever included in this decision-making process, which also violates Commonwealth law. And when you violate Commonwealth law, you violate federal laws. And that is where the internal audit that will happen on this from the federal government will come down hard. Did you follow local law and local regulations? The answer will be no. Several were violated. What do you think the federal government will do at that point? Let me tell you what they will do. They will do what they've done in the past. They will do an investigation on this. They will find things wrong with it. And then they will say the CNMI must pay the $17 million back. And who's going to be on the hook, sir? It's not going to be you and your two panelists. It will be our taxpayers who have to pay that money back. This is a very serious matter. This is not something to be taken lightly. There is tons of proof that this was not done in a right manner and that there is possibly fraud committed. I have seen enough today. I don't have any more questions for you because there are no questions that you will answer that will satisfy me or my colleagues at this point. What I do know is that I've looked at this list, and even the very first time I looked at it, I could see connections simply by looking at it. And then we took a little dive into it, and we're not even investigators, making phone calls to the registrar and looking at who owns these companies and putting the ties together. When 1 Mariana's initiative, when I brought that up, and you couldn't recall many things about that, yet it was given $250,000, this nonprofit that somehow skipped the line of nonprofits that existed in the CNMI for decades, but they somehow skipped the line. That's not fairness, sir. You're talking about a company that 2/3 of the company are not even residing here. They reside in Guam. It was just incorporated in the latter part of 2022. But it didn't receive $5,000 or $10,000. It received $250,000. And we still don't know exactly what it does and how the Commonwealth will somehow benefit from that. I don't have any questions for you, sir. I just am frustrated at this point that we've had to deliberate and discuss and ask questions, and we've gotten nowhere with the answers. I yield.
Thank you, Probst. All right. At this time, Mr. Tyson.